गाड़ी के का चला होगा जब तक लंबा لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله الذي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله ولادي ابراهيم وجلي الله قبر النبي محمد المصطفى المختار برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة الوثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited is a familiar verse for all of you. It is an ayat number 9 from Surah Jum'ah, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the mu'mineen. In the earlier portion of Surah Jum'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses those who are the followers of madhab, Yahudiyat, Judaism, when he speaks to them, Ya ayyuhalladhina hadu. And in the end, he speaks to Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and those who have brought iman. And of course, the address is to mu'mineen and muslimin because إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ. Friday prayer is the call for the Muslims to go ahead and perform the salah. And there's some exhortations, advices that are being given as far as this Jum'ah is concerned. It says Surah Jum'ah was revealed while many people were ignoring the call to the prayer. So therefore, the specific rule that when the call of the prayer is being given, it says, فَاسْعَوْا إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Rush towards the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and leave all your businesses. Bay' refers to in general as all your businesses specifically and your work in general. So the surah was revealed, of course, when many people were ignoring the call to the prayer. Adhan was being said and people wouldn't pay any attention to it and they will continue on with their business. Or Prophet was leading the prayer, and if they heard a merchant's call, because back in the day, if you have seen the depiction of the earlier days of Islam in various movies that have been made, and to give us a picture that how mosque was an open place, and right next to mosque there was a market, there was a place of business, and as people were standing, they would hear a call of a merchant who just arrive from, for example, from another city bringing some goods, people would strand Rasulullah standing in the prayer, and they would go ahead and say back to the call of the merchant, and leave the salat standing as is. Now, of course, these weren't mushrikeen, these weren't kafirin, these were Muslimin who had brought Iman and who had become Muslims. And after having brought Iman, while they were doing this ayat was revealed, and therefore, while the ayat is condemning them for their action, addresses them as those who are faithful. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawm al-jum'ah fas'au ila dhikrillah wa dharul bay'. That means the mafhum of this ayat is that they were doing this thing in order for them to stop. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends this call. We find that one of the things that are mentioned in this ayah, which is worth discussing, is the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fas'au ila dhikrillah. And the second thing is fas'au ila dhikrillah wa dharul bay'. The bay part is next, but first that is being addressed is the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make sure that you attend and rush toward the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our sixth Imam Jafar al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, he said, Ad-dakiru lillahi azza wa jal fil ghafilin kal muqatil fil muharibin. Beautiful hadith, you can find it in Al-Kafi. Says, the one who remembers God amid heedless people is like the one who performs jihad in the way of Allah amongst those who are waging war against Islam. So if, of course, we might not get that opportunity to be standing protecting our faith, because God knows when that opportunity will be, when Imam arrives, and if you're called to it, and if we're up to the task, and if we say back to his call and we're standing. So those eras of battle that took place in the time of Rasulullah and the Masumeen, they're long gone. So that second opportunity may not be there. But it says, if you remember God amongst those who are ghafilin, heedless of Allah's remembrance, you are as if you are muharib, you are muqatil amongst muharibin. You are fighting in a battlefield. Well, all of them are waging swords against you, against Islam, for example. So you can attain that status by just being amongst the dhakir. In a similar tradition, the Prophet of Islam to Abu Dhar, he said, the one who remembers Allah amid ignorant and heedless is like the one who fights in the way of Allah in the midst of those who are fleeing the scene of battlefield. So that is even a worst scenario when you're in need of help. And we've seen that scenario in the Battle of Uhud. When the call was raised that Prophet has died, Mat Muhammad, people started fleeing the scene. When they hear their leader has passed away or has been killed, now what is there left? So they start running off, they start fleeing. He says a person who stays back in that delicate scenario is the one who remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amongst the ignorant. So keeping that in mind, how tough or difficult of a task it would be that everyone is fleeing the scene, everyone is fleeing the battlefield, but those who stay, these are mujahideen haqqa, these are the mu'mineen haqqa, these are the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call faizeen, those who are successful. And that's why when people were running away, Amir al-Mu'mineen held up Rasulullah to remove the doubts in the minds of the people that Prophet had died. He said, no, Hada Muhammad, Hada Muhammad. Muhammad is still alive. Prophet is still alive. Don't think that he has died. And then the ayat of Quran was revealed. Of course, I recited it, I believe, a few times earlier, that if he died or if he was killed in a battlefield, will you turn back to your heels and go back to your old ways? No, the deen is still here. The madhab is still here. The thing that for which he came is still with you. So why are you going to go ahead and leave? So it was condemned a great deal. It says the second portion of it after the dhikr of Allah is وَذَرُ الْبَيْعِ. And that's why in ayat number 11, it goes further by saying, إِذَا رَوْا تِجَارَةً وَلَهْوًا انْفَضُّوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. When they sight a deal or a diversion, they scatter off towards it and leave you standing. that this was a common practice of the people at that time, and hence this ayat was revealed. Islam, there are a few things that we can derive. First of all, yes, the condemnation of those people who are leaving the Salatul Jum'ah. And when Prophet is leading, when Imam Haq is leading Salatul Jum'ah and people are leaving and stranding him, that is the condemnation that is there. But what we can also derive if we dig deep and further into this ayat is that Islam is a proactive religion, as it can be seen from this verse. Firstly, it exhorts people to engage into business. It says, وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعِ at the time of Salat. That means what? Go ahead and perform the bay'. Be a businessman. Go ahead and do tijarat. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, it is exhorting you to go ahead and do tijarat. And then not only it wants you to engage into business, secondly, it doesn't expect you to be taking a day off from your business. Friday, don't take a day off from your business. No. Dharul bay', leave the work and come to Salat, which most of you are. Of course, if you haven't retired, most of you are doing that you were at work in the morning and the time of prayer came, you left your work for an hour or for 2 hours to come and join the Salat. That's what Islam wants you to do. It does not want lazy folks to do nothing all day and then be present at the Salat. They should be actually present regardless of what. But it is exhorting those people who are actively engaged in work and they're working and they leave their work to come over here. Because when you leave something which is equally important and then come and join right here, you're setting the priorities straight. You're showing that what priorities you have. Yes, that is also a priority for me, but this is a top priority because the call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It says, hurry towards the remembrance of Allah and leave all business. Therefore, Islam is not a religion for those freeloaders or lazy. It is a religion for those who are active. Therefore, those who remember Allah lazily are also condemned in Quran. There's a separate ayat in Quran for those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, albeit they remember him very lazily. What does the ayah say? It says, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَهُوَ خَادِعُهُمْ وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ قَامُوا كُسَالَىٰ. It says the hypocrites try to deceive God, but he in fact deceives them. So they're thinking in their mind that we have, deceived Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our prayers and whatnot. No, they are being deceived. They stand up in prayer lazily just to show that they are praying. You can relate to this. Now, this ayat is not referring to many of our kids who sometimes do the same thing. They stand up for prayer lazily. This ayat is not referring to them. But we can relate to that, how sometimes you have to drag them to go ahead and perform the salah. You have to drag them to go ahead and do, and they're making excuses. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to go there? Why do I have to perform? This is in fact a good time. Summer, it's time when you have, kids are home, their schools are off. Even if they are doing certain type of schooling, it's all done virtually. It was done last year, all virtually. And so use this opportunity, utilize it, come to the masjid for the regular prayers. A masjid is open all day long from Fajr till Dhuhr and as well as Maghrib Salat, which is unheard of, right? Growing up here in the United States, if you lived here long enough, this was unheard of. But this was a practice, a thing of, back home that you heard that masajid, the doors of masajid were open and we can just walk in and do prayer at any time that you want to. It's something which is being now given and available to you over here. So use this opportunity during the summertime, especially. Kids are off from school. While you might travel for your vacations and all that, you go there for come back after a week. Make sure this becomes a continuous habit that you bring them, because this is where you lay the foundation for them to be able to attend it on their own when they grow up. If this foundation is not laid for them while you are dragging them sometimes and bringing them by force even, this has to be done in order for them tomorrow to realize the worth of it, and then they will come on their own and you won't even have to say anything to them. So this is how, we lay the foundation when we're raising our kids, when you're doing the tarbiyah, regardless of whatever it is that you want to, ask them to hold on to. A lot of times, you want them to develop interest in a certain aspect. in a certain thing. You go ahead and provide things that they're, you put them into certain programs from the very young age so that they start joining that. And then when they grow up, when it's time for them to make the decision for their careers, right away, that thing which they have been trained for all these years, they will have an easier time picking it. So religion is the same way. Regardless of what career they choose, religion is going to stay and be part of their lives throughout. And therefore, it is the best opportunity for you to go ahead and bring them in for regular salah, to spend maybe an hour or two. I was listening to a clip the other day, and it was a beautiful clip where a person, an alim, was speaking about 3 different types of guests. I'm sure you might have seen this, as these things float around on social media, it gets from one person to another person to third person. So many of you might have seen this clip, but if you have, still it's a good reminder. He said there are 3 types of guests. When you invite people, our guests, right? When you invite someone, there are 3 types of guests. There are guests that you invite wholeheartedly. You want them to come and you want them to stay longer and you don't want them to leave. I'm sure many of you have those type of guests. And then we have type of guests that you don't mind them coming, but you don't want them staying too long. You've come, you've met us, now get up and leave, that's okay. And then you have a 3rd type of category, which is that, you don't want them coming at all. So I'm sure all of us have these sort of categories for people with our, interaction. He says, those whom you want to come, adamant about it, and you don't want them to leave. That's how close you are to them. Second, you want them to come, but you want them to leave as quickly as possible. Third, don't even bother coming. 3 types of guests. He says, guess what? House of Allah. Who's the host? Allah is the host. If you come to this place and you don't want to leave, that is because the host wants you to stay here as long as possible. He doesn't want you leaving here. That's why you keep coming back and forth all over and over and over again. So you belong in that first category of group, which you invite and you don't want them leaving. Second category of those people who come and then Allah says, leave. I don't want you to be hanging around here too much. And then there's a 3rd category. Allah does not even want those people coming into the masjid. Just imagine which category of the group of these 3 we belong to as far as we being the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are concerned. Are we the first type of guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we the second type of guest? And God forbid, we are the 3rd type of the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the attributes of the pious is that they are active in the midst of those who are heedless. Speaking up in between those who are speaking in vain, making a mockery of the religion, and you have the guts to talk. This is the attribute of a muttaqi. People easily make this excuse when they say that how can we be practicing Muslims amid unbelievers, the society which is filled with toxic environment? How can we practice our religion when those who live around us call this to be a virus, for example? How can we pray when no one around us prays? How is it possible for me to remain pure when everyone in my surrounding is polluted and corrupted? I'm sure these questions arise in minds of various people, but of course, we find that the best of the gems don't come in the most beautiful of the locations. They come amidst of, pollution and garbage and dust and whatnot. And from there, you bring these gems out. It is a skill to remain pure and chaste and keep your body and your soul pure. I gave this example last night. There weren't as many people, so I'll repeat this example. That there was a person in the time of Ma'asumin, and people said, he always smelled very good. And so one day someone asked him, how much money do you spend on cologne and perfumes and itr? Of course, back then it was, majority were buying these itr, and these itr were being produced. He says, how much money do you spend on itr? It seems like you're always, smelling well, and you're always applying ton of itr. And we find many of our friends here today as well, in our routine that a lot of people they smell very good. They apply good perfume, and this is easy. Anyone can go ahead and apply this, and they will have this fragrance coming from them. So that man actually responded by saying, I actually don't apply any fragrance. What I apply is actually something which smells bad and which is filthy, to control my desires, to repel people from me, so that I don't fall prey and victim to my own desires. And when people are attracted, I go ahead and commit a haram or a sin. So what I have applied on myself is actually filth, and is actually something which it smells bad. He says, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's karam is that bad thing that I have applied on myself, he presents it to the people as if it's the best of the fragrances. So that's how one of the ways of protecting yourself, that in the midst of the pollution, in the midst of all the bad and the evil that exists, that you're still able to stand up for your belief. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So it's not, one of the answers was this. The second answer is that you don't have to be always following the majority. That, everyone is doing this, everyone is against this, nobody's practicing, nobody's doing this. So we become part of that jama'at. It says, Khahi, Nashawi, Raswa, Hamrange Jama'at Show, Hamrangi Yato Maye Raswai Yatu Ast. That although the environment is bad and the social elements are effective, but it's not the excuse which will be accepted tomorrow, that this is the reason that I could not practice. When you stand up in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِذَا تَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالِمِي أَنفُسِهِمْ قَالُوا كُنَّا مُسْتَضْعَفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, the malaika will respond, فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ, what's wrong with you? Where were you? Why are you in such a bad state? And they will respond by saying, كُنَّا مُسْتَضْعَفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, we were the weak ones. We were in minority. Everyone else was so powerful around us, and we didn't have the opportunity to practice our deen and our madhab, and therefore we strayed away from, we went astray, for example. So that excuse will not fly tomorrow. The response will be, Alam takun ardullahi wasi'atan fatuhajiru fiha. Was not the land wide enough for you to travel, go somewhere else to practice your madhab? Why did you stick around in the same place if it was difficult for you to practice? So here, and while we're trying to set priorities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers this to be the top of your priority. So importance of Jummah that I wanted to highlight today, alhamdulillah, our community pays special attention toward this phenomena, and it is good because there's so much that has been mentioned as far as the Jummah and the merits of Jummah is concerned. Prophet of Islam, when he ascended to Mi'raj, he witnessed that angels were seeking forgiveness for those who attend Jum'ah Salat and perform ghusl on Friday. Allahumma gfir lilladhina yahduruna salat al-Jum'ah, Allahumma gfir lilladhina yaghtasiluna yawm al-Jum'ah. Those who pray and those who offer this ghusl on the day of Jum'ah. Who is asking for forgiveness? The angels are asking for forgiveness. Jum'ah has a special place in Islam, and there are many narrations which point us in that direction. Prophet said Friday is the leader of other days and has a special place in the sight of Allah. Jummah is considered to be the Eid of Muslimin, an Eid which returns every week. You're bestowed with a weekly basis, you're bestowed with this Eid, and I guess that's the reason we sometimes take it for granted. Friday is the day of helping the poor and the deprived. Hadith exhort us to do sadaqah and infaq on Fridays especially. The occultation of Imam of our age, Imam Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. It says, يَخْرُجُ قَائِمُنَا يَوْمَ الْجُمْعَةِ. He will also reappear on Friday. On the Friday, the door of heavens are wide open for the actions of mankind. And also, I mentioned it last night, whoever visits their parents, deceased parents, their grave on Friday, their sins will be forgiven along with the sins of those whom they are visiting. And that is just the benefit of visiting them on Friday. Prophet said, do you not want me to inform you about the people of paradise? Severe cold or hot weather doesn't stop them from performing the amal of Jum'ah. They are the people, the inhabitants of that paradise are those who do not stay away because it's too hot or because it's too cold, I'm not going for Jum'ah today. Nothing stops them from performing the amal of Jum'ah. So Friday is considered to be unequal in weight to Hajj. We read in the hadith, it says, alayka bil jum'ati fa innaha hajjul masakin. Upon you is Jum'ah Salat. Why? It's the Hajj of those who are miskeen. If you can't go to Hajj for poverty or for lack of health, then Jum'ah is the replacement for you as far as Hajj is concerned. Friday is so important that we read that Imams prepared people to get ready from Thursday night for this Salatul Jum'ah by not consuming something which will make them lazy, by not eating something which will make their breath bad, so that they won't be able to show up on Friday. And so this was the preparation that we find in the Kalam of Masumeen. I wanted to, towards the end, share one tradition, inshallah I'll conclude with it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So while there are exhortations to attend Salatul Jum'ah, there are also advices how to enter, not just for Jum'ah, but any place of worship or even houses. It says Islam has directed us with etiquettes of entering and exiting our houses, and similarly entering and exiting the masajid as well. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said, whenever you enter your house, send salam onto the family members, even if no one was home. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi salihin. This is the line that you say in your salat. In your after tashahhud, when you recite the salam, this is the second salam. It says, say this as whenever you enter into your houses, and then recite Surah Ikhlas, which helps remove poverty. Read another place that about the ethics of exiting. That was when you were entering the house. When you exit the house, say Bismillah wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Tawakkaltu ala Allah. These are the afkar that everybody knows. These aren't the afkar that are new to us. Bismillah wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Tawakkaltu ala Allah. In the name of Allah, there isn't any power except Allah. I put my trust in it. It says, since you said Bismillah, angel says you are provided guidance. When you say La hawla wa la quwwa, angel says you are protected from all evils. And when you say Tawakkaltu ala Allah, angel says Allah is sufficient for you. In this state, shaitan says, now it's the shaitan's turn to say, after he hears this kalam from you, he said, what can I do with someone who has been guided, protected, and has been sufficed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There's no way that I can penetrate into the mind of such an individual. By easily mentioning these things, you're able to turn shaitan away from yourself. So it is an important incumbent upon us that this Jum'ah is taken care of. Salatul Jum'ah is, we are present for it and we pay extra attention towards it. It says, Ma tala'at ash-shams fi yawmin afdal min yawm al-Jum'ah. The sun does not shine on a day more superior than the Friday. And wakana al-yawm allazi, this was the day upon which Rasulullah had appointed Amir al-Mu'mineen and announced the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the day of Ghadir Qum, when Rasulullah raised Amir al-Mu'mineen, and when he said al-yawm, when the ayat was revealed al-yawm, and Prophet responded by saying man kuntu mawla fa'adha aliin mawla. That was done on the day of Friday. I recited already Yawmul Jum'ah, Qiyamul Qa'im, our Qa'im, Imam of our time. He will also reappear on this Friday. Safi Yawmul Jum'ah. وَتَقُومُ الْقِيَامَةِ فِي الْيَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ. On the day of judgment will also take place on Friday, and all of the people will be gathered on this particular day. So there's so much exhortation that, of course, there's more that I can't get into as I have run out of my time, taking a few minutes extra. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us this blessing, that while we have the opportunity, we're still going through the summer days, that we're able to bring our kids more and more to the masjid. The doors are open for regular prayer so that they spend as much time here. Just being in this ambience, in this environment, will have a positive spiritual effect on them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the zuhur of our awaited Imam, make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Inna asal hadith wa ablagh al-mawida kitabullahi a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وفاني السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد ولا معص لبعد إلا كرمه وجوده ولا كثر الذنوب إلا فهو صفا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو يطوف على العباد بجوده والأفضل المذنبين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله على قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه وقال تعالى لكم وتشريفا للصفي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله وعلى الحسن المجتبى وعلى الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما ياثار البدء والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد الفور البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو في الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أحلو ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهل بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين اللهم اجعلنا ممن يذكره فتنفع الذكر ان الله يامر بالعدل والاحسان وايتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Make sure that you sit on these blue tape that we have put in order for the connection to be established. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Please silence your phone. Thank you.
الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس
فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة وينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل
على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم
صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Before we start, just like to recognize sponsors for Jummah. Today is the family of Dr. Al-Jafi. Please decide to sit on behalf for their needs as well as yours, especially Mahmoud Imdad Ali Khan Jafi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
This is also a request for the Father for Abdul Sattar.
Yeah,
Let's make dua for those who are in need of dua, those who are sick, suffering, struggling with a difficult time. By reciting this ayah of Quran together 5 times. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibu mustarra idha da'ahu yakfusu
أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء وإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Reminder, inshallah, tomorrow we will be having the jashan to celebrate the birth of our 10th Imam, Imam Ali Naqi al-Hadi. 15th day of the Hijjah is the day of the Bilal of Imam, so that will take place inshallah tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Inshallah, the jashan will start with the recitation of Quran or by poetry by the local reciters, and inshallah I will address the gathering. And so that is tomorrow, Saturday. Make sure that you have it in your calendars and you can attend it at 7:15 tomorrow. Also, heads up to another upcoming event, which will be July 31st. That will be the following Saturday, when we will be celebrating the grand jashan of Eid-e-Ghadir, as well as it marks the anniversary of Masjid-e-Ali. So we always have a very grand program for that. Inshallah, that will be followed up. That email will be followed up with that program and further details of it. But that will be next Saturday, July 31st. So tomorrow, inshallah, make sure that you attend in Lord. Sallallahu alaihi wa Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. صلاة العصر. الله أكبر
الله أكبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقول ويقول. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسليم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل قاسٍ فقير باعث مسكين مستكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشى ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد.
صلى الله عليه وسلم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله أيها المدفون بعد المرسلين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا صاحب السماء. السلام عليكم يا من يتوجه. السلام عليكم يا شريك القرآن. الله تعالى فإنك صاحب الله وجعلنا من أموال الصالح ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
يا رسول الله يا
Thank you.